There's no way into the zero room, Doctor. It's gone. What do we do? Touchdown! We've made it. We've made it.
What on earth?
Oops.
So, and this got here how? Who drove it here? Excuse me, miss. Are you responsible for this?
I might be.
Not up to CAA standard, but a landing's a landing.
Well, it's very, very attractively parked, I might say so.
Hey, I'm new, you know?
Yeah, yeah,
I'm no expert.
yeah. It's not quite...
I'm the air stewardess, not the pilot.
Yeah, yeah, all right.
Where are we?
Ah, well, it's funny you should ask that.
Whoa!
Hey! Turlo is always at hand, lurking in the bushes, doing mysterious things. Yes. Sometimes he might want to kill you, sometimes he might not. On this occasion, he doesn't want to kill you, he wants to help, right?
Thank heaven.
So
really?
we're going to have a look at the 4 episodes of Castrovalva, and we're going to explore them together. So, Janet, you parked it here.
Yeah, I
What's wrong? Why isn't this the first scene of Castrovalva? Why is the TARDIS in the wrong place?
I'm so glad you asked me that question. However, I think Peter's better equipped to answer it.
All right, Peter.
Well, at this particular moment, I'm inside this TARDIS in a box, in a zero cabinet, waiting for my 2 female companions to lift me and carry me through the grounds of this particular estate.
Well, it's not far to go anyway.
You've seen it?
It's an afternoon's walk away, more or less.
We'll be carrying the Doctor, don't forget.
Oh, just the zero cabinet.
Hey?
You won't feel my weight. I'll make it easy for you.
We're on our way to the magical Castrovalva.
Well, I've obviously got a lot of prompting to do on this one. We explore Peter's first episodes, right? And we discover all about them together. It's going to be fun, isn't it?
It is.
It is.
No.
Yes.
Okay. So, all right, I fall off a gantry, except I'm not me then, I'm Tom. So I turn into me, and then I get rescued by Janet and Sarah, who take me off to the TARDIS. Meanwhile, Matthew is caught and put in the Master's web. I undo Tom's scarf. I turn into my cricketing doctor. I then fall over again, and then I tell them they have to put me in this box. And I will levitate to make it easier for them to carry.
Neat trick. Neat trick.
Well, I think we're completely clear where we are.
Yeah.
I can't see how anybody could possibly...
No, we're on our way.
Yeah.
We're on our way down the yellow brick road to Castrovalva.
Excellent. Lead on, Peter.
Okay, right. This way.
Right. Follow on.
We looked for a peaceful estate somewhere close by, and we went to the estate owned by the Delawares.
I went to the Delaware, the Earl of Delaware's estate, not knowing who owned it, but I'd seen it on the Ordnance Survey map, very close, or not that far away. And so I trundled up in my car. "Excuse me, I'm from the BBC. Would you mind if we did some filming here?" And I spoke to a man who I thought was a gardener, and he said, "Oh yes, do come around and have a look." And it was Earl Delaware, so that was quite amusing at the time. And they loved having us there, so that was very good. And Buckhouse Park had a stream, so they could fall into that. It was away from the public. What more could you ask for, really?
So, Sarah, Janet, at this location, most of the time you were carrying the zero box.
To begin with, it was on the wheelchair. We balance it on the wheelchair and we push it on the wheelchair.
Whatever you were doing to it, it looked pretty awkward to me most
It was
of the time.
awkward.
It was awkward.
Yeah?
Yes,
We should have carried it on our heads because we're the same height, more or less.
Yeah.
I'm slightly taller. Sorry, Sarah, but I am.
So, and is that why you fell in the lake?
Well, what happens is we come to a point, I think, where we need to cross a bit of water. I think it's probably a stream. So in order to do that, we take the zero cabinet off the wheelchair. The wheelchair then tumbles down the hill into the water. I then go to retrieve the wheelchair, slip in and pull the funny face. Then you see me trying to fix the wheelchair with my iron bonder. It doesn't work, and we end up just abandoning the wheelchair and just carrying the zero cabinet.
And you were saying earlier, you said something really interesting, because you wore trousers, didn't you?
Yes.
And you thought it might have been because of falling in the lake.
It might have been. I find it strange to think they put me in trousers just because I was going to fall in the water at some point.
If I'd known that, I would have gone in the water.
Now, if you look over there, there's a little, see this little pond, little lake there?
Yep.
Now, the camera was opposite you, so it couldn't have been on the big lake like this, right?
It's not there, though, is it?
We don't think it's there.
Right.
It's somewhere else.
We haven't seen it yet. I think it might be over near the other lake, where the huge gunner are.
It was definitely quite a big slope I trundled down before I actually eventually slipped.
I remember the owner showed us huge, I think it's gunnera, looks like overgrown rhubarb that he'd sheltered in under as a child. And there was a magical feel about it.
That was a very good slip.
Was it?
The way you
was.
did that. Yeah. You had a potential as a stunt woman.
Fine slipping.
Yeah, fine slipping.
Right, years of practice slipping into water.
Yeah, what you might not know is that in the original script by Chris Bidmead, when you're mending the wheelchair and trying to get that all sorted, Janet was supposed to go down. It was supposed to be this beautiful clear water, and I don't know whether it was, but Janet, you were supposed to go down, lie on your stomach, and have a drink in the
Mark,
water.
I am the daughter of a parasitologist. There was no way I would ever have done that.
No, don't blame you. Don't blame you.
Hey, lovely fox gloves. Look.
Yeah.
Well, keep your eyes open. We'll spot it at some point.
What, the fox gloves?
No, the elusive lake.
Oh, right. Okay.
So, Peter.
Hello there, Mark. How are you?
Very well.
Why have you come here? What are you going to ask me? No.
I'm sorry I'm asking so many questions.
No more quizzes.
No more quizzes. No.
What memories does this bring back? Anything to do? I'll give you a clue.
Yeah.
Publicity photo.
Yeah, we had a photo taken. Yeah, I've got one of them at home actually, taken here. With me sort of looking surrounded by greenery. I guess I'm standing in the water. I don't know where I'm standing.
You were standing in the water?
No, I think I was standing on a handy rock. I'm right in the middle of a whole load of vegetation, surrounded by this beautiful
You
thing.
can't have been standing on
How did
this.
you get down?
No. I've no idea. I've just got a picture at home. I was going to ask you how I got there. I don't remember going down. But I've got a picture which looks like it was here. Who knows if it is? But it's certainly on this shoot.
This was early on into your period, very early on. Had the publicity hit the press by now?
Oh, yes.
Yeah,
No. John Nathan Turner had publicity from day one, virtually.
Absolutely.
From when I was announced, and then there was another photo call for when my costume was there.
Yep.
And were you getting any reaction about how you were going to play the Doctor? Because let's face it, you're slightly different to Tom Baker.
Really? No. I listen. That's the most confusing thing about being asked to play the Doctor is that you are employed to be different and yet the same as all the other Doctors because it's the same character.
Peter, by the time I got there, was into watching the tapes of Pat and Bill Hartnell and John Pertwee and Tom.
I was invited on Pebble Mill at one, and they got about 10 people along to suggest ways I should play it.
And was that a huge help?
There was a general feeling I needed help, I think.
Another John Nathan Turner careful PR whiz.
Yeah, really good.
Guaranteed to build your confidence.
Yeah.
Really good. So,
Bless him.
I wasn't aware of any speculation about how I was going to play it. I had enough speculation in my head and trepidation about how I was going to do it to last me a lifetime. But oddly enough, when you go into the studio for the first time, it gradually evolved. I'd say gradually. I mean, The Force of Doomsday was the first story that I did, and it was, I think I was hedging my bets as to what the heck I was doing. I'm not sure actually I knew very much before I finished actually what I was doing, but you just have to
Well, I thought you did a
do what
pretty
you
good job.
can. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
I hate being kind to you, but I thought you did a
Yeah,
pretty good
here.
job. No, you didn't just film at this location. Can any of you really remember the first location in episode 1, the Pharos project in Crowborough. It was a police training.
I was never.
Yes.
Oh, I was there actually.
Yes, you were.
Yes,
Not
I
Jodrell
was, yeah.
Bank. Wasn't Jodrell Bank, was it?
It was meant to be.
It was meant to be.
It was meant to be Jodrell Bank.
Yes.
It wasn't, but it was meant to be.
And did you really drive the ambulance?
Yes,
I thought so.
I think I did.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure you did.
Yeah.
Andrew, quick!
I thought you looked suitably petrified.
It was on private land, so there wouldn't have been a problem.
Yeah, and over hillocks and what have you.
Yeah, well, as we discussed earlier, we can't film there today because it's closed. But
Yeah.
we can go to one more location, which you two are going to particularly enjoy,
Oh, really?
Harrison's Rocks. It's time to go climbing.
Yes.
Lead on, Peter.
Lovely. 2 pairs of high-heeled shoes, please, for the ladies.
And
let
tight
me-
skirts.
Two
Tight
pairs of high
skirts. I want to see
What
them
could
climb
possibly
Harrison
go
Rock.
wrong? Off you go, guys.
Castrovalva.
Harrison Rocks was wonderful. We came and looked at it. Yeah, that was ideal. It was also very useful for the designer, Janet Budden, because she had to recreate some of the rocks in the studio. And they had nice features that she could manage to do out of javelite, you know, whatever they were using in those days.
I hope you brought us to here, Mark.
Here we are. Harrison's Rocks.
Okay.
Is it all flooding back to you?
No,
Well, it won't flood
Not
back
to
to
me, it
Matthew
isn't.
because he wasn't here, of course.
Neither of them were here.
they weren't here.
So
They
you
weren't
two.
in the scene with Sarah and I.
We were here. We were with you in spirit, weren't we, Matthew?
Yeah.
Don't.
I was in a car.
What?
I was in a box somewhere, wasn't I? Where was I? Besides, I was here because I, in fact, am climbing up ahead of you when you find me.
There he is. Perhaps he's found a way in.
Because
You
I
weren't
disappeared-
actually in the shot.
But
at the
wasn't,
same
that
time.
wasn't here.
Shot, just your shot. I wasn't.
So did
in. I
you
was
did
in
you
my
do a shot here, girls?
Pass.
Ah.
Can I phone a friend?
No. Funny enough, I've got a little thing for you because we want to visit some of the locations you filmed at. So
Right,
this
okay.
can be your crib sheet,
Okay.
which I managed to put together. And I can tell you, yes, you did do a bit here. So there you are.
Okay.
There you are. There's your crib sheet.
Oh, look, yes. The rock. Proof. We did.
Okay.
And the dialogue went, still no way
Still
in
no
or
way
something?
in.
Something like that?
Still no way in.
You're just trying to show me up now, aren't you?
It's quite atmospheric, isn't it? I mean, I think it's a
Yes.
really good set for Castrovalva. What did you guys think?
Yeah, no, it is.
beautiful,
It
yeah.
is.
Well, oddly, it looks a little bit like a set, doesn't it?
It does.
It doesn't really look like real rocks at all.
The Harrison's Rocks lent themselves to being transmogrified into the studio, and the actual opening of the rocks occurred in studio, but I think the transition between film and studio works extremely well there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Papier-mâché.
It's all very
Sculpted
geometric,
out of
isn't it?
polystyrene.
Geologically, what are Harrison's rocks?
They're 137 million years old.
Are they?
You made that up.
Wow.
You made. Look at his face.
I'm right.
You made that up.
I don't know. I don't
It's 137 million years old, yeah. Perfectly right. Betcha.
Okay.
Oh,
Well, look, let's have a bit more of a walk around. and
somebody
see
said
if
that
we can-
earlier in the day, didn't they? Somebody told you that earlier in the day.
No.
We're going to see
No
if we
one
can
told
find
me, I
some of your
promise.
other locations. All
Perfect.
Okay.
I don't think we climbed here, did we?
I
We
think
were-
you climbed
we
down.
did
You
some
climbed
filming.
down.
Give it a go.
We came down.
You ended up on this ledge. I
That's
think you ended
right,
up on
yeah.
that ledge. How you got there, I have no idea.
2-inch high heels and a tight skirt.
Their big problem in any of the filming was the fact they were in high heels. They weren't in flat shoes. And it was a huge problem for Janet because she was in this very tight skirt. And that really showed up when we got to the rocks.
And
So
you know
you kind of
what?
winched up there? Or
No,
you
we
actually
came
climbed?
down.
I think
were
it
How
was
do you get
quite-
up there in order to come down?
Because
I
we
think
were
there is
already
a way up there. I think there
We
is
were
a way
already
up.
up
Oh,
the
I
top,
see.
and then.
And also, it was
Okay.
quite dark.
On we go. We can't stay here all day. We're going
Oh, it has to be all about you, doesn't it? It has to
on.
be all about you.
It's like leading a group of cubs on an outing.
They'd be better behaved.
So,
137 million. It's 130 million. You're out by 7 million years.
Well, at least I made an educated guess, more than I heard you do.
Does it look the same, or because you were here later in the year, weren't you? Was there all this bracken?
That was 7 million years later, that's right.
Yeah.
But there was all this bracken, was there?
I don't know, it was 7 million years ago.
Oh, right.
I think
This looks
we just passed the
familiar.
big rock. That's that one.
Okay.
It's sculpted, doesn't it?
This
Yeah, it
does,
does.
doesn't it?
It almost
says
looks like
falling
Watch
fake
out for that rock.
There's
Too late. This bit, I'm not sure I remember that. But I think here is where you put your foot in my hand. I try and give you a hoik up.
Oh, yeah.
Is that right?
Should we
Yeah, I
recreate?
think it is.
I think. On this
Oh,
corner.
yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's a good idea.
Do you know the origins of Castrovalva, how it came about?
Why? I've been to the town.
Because though the big clue is these sort of geometric, mathematical rocks. And what it was, who was the head of drama at the time? You'll know, you guys. Peter, you'll know. It's Graham MacDonald.
Yes.
Yeah, Graham MacDonald, who was head of drama. He had 2 prints by a Dutch lithographer, by a guy called Escher.
Those 2 prints were actually on the wall in the office of the head of department at the time, Graham MacDonald. And I have a feeling that Christopher Bidmead had sat and looked at them on many occasions.
I remember nothing of this at all. I don't. That's not where the idea came from me. No, I knew Escher of old, had admired his work, which is damn good stuff. Didn't know about the Castrovalva picture until I started researching him for the show. And it all slipped together.
And Escher was fascinated by maths. He was fascinated by infinity and perspective and all those sorts of things. So this I think is a great location because it does look false. It looks geometric and mathematical.
They do. They look like fake rocks.
And there's an Escher print with a village on top of rocks, and the print is called Castrovalva.
And I've been there.
Ah!
I've been there. And
Wow.
it's in Abruzzo in Italy.
There we are.
Yeah. And I was there in May.
The mystery is solved. There we are.
This is the amount of research Janet does.
I am thorough.
She is committed.
Professional. Completely professional.
Yeah. Thanks, Sarah.
Yeah.
All right, well, let's try and find some more. Yeah.
Okay.
What are we looking for now?
We're looking for other locations. You know, feel free to spot one as
More
we
rocks.
More rocks.
Jolly good.
Oh, but one final and tremendously important point, perhaps the most important point of all, is that all of Castrovalva, speaking of mathematics, is created by a certain mathematical genius. I don't want to boast.
Who's
or-
that? Who's that?
Adric.
Adric.
Created the whole thing.
I think you've misunderstood.
Tegan never
Dr.
created anything. She hasn't got the brains.
Oh, now the party's getting
Oh,
crowded.
no. It's going to get mean now.
Perhaps this little demonstration will give you some glimpse of my real power.
How are you getting from me? From my computations?
This is looking vaguely familiar. Let's stop and have a chat. Right, need a rest anyway. I think you did something here because I have watched Castrovalva not once but twice in the last 3 days. This is again dedication, Janet. A large medal for
Heroic.
me.
Heroic.
Definitely. So Castrovalva, it's if I'd said it was quite a complicated story, I think that would be true. What did you think when you first got the script, Peter?
Yeah, I liked it because it was my first story, and I got those little bits to bring into Pat and John and William Hartnell, little kind of impersonations of them.
I wonder, boy, what would you do if you were me? Or perhaps I should ask, what would I do if I were me?
Peter was coming out of this transformation, and I loved the idea that he was like a newborn chick emerging from an egg and feeling out the world for the first time. And I wanted to explore that, particularly in the light of the other theme, which was the theme of recursion and the nature of reality.
It was complex. I mean, Christopher H. Bidmead, as you alluded to earlier, being he just makes things. You know, he loves a complicated story, doesn't he?
He does love a twist.
Yes.
A twist and a turn.
I finished up realising that Chris Bidmead's script for Castrovalva was fascinating, and I needed to read and read and read and read. And what I liked about it was that there was this metaphysical air about it, and that it wasn't involved with flashing lights and it wasn't involved with metal monsters.
Well, interesting, you know, it was first of all, it wasn't called Castrovalva, it was called The Visitor.
Oh,
Anybody?
I didn't know that.
So John says, "Oh, we'll call this next one The Visitor," and, which I thought was a nothing dame if he did say that. And these working titles are not important.
No, I
think
didn't
why
know.
it would be that.
There's a painting called The Visitor, isn't there?
Is there?
Isn't there a painting called The Visitor?
Maybe.
I don't know. But you know it wasn't going to be your first story.
I've since discovered that.
Yeah,
yes.
there was a story called Project 4G, and it was written by John Flanagan and Andrew McCulloch.
Yes.
That's right, I've done my research. And that story was about, well, some of the characters in it were invisible.
Right.
Now, call me old-fashioned, but I wouldn't have thought that worked terribly well for television. So I can actually see why they didn't do that story. And Castrovalva, right, you start off and you're watching it, I felt, the first 2 episodes are pretty much in the TARDIS, aren't they?
Yes, yes.
Yeah, they are.
Yes.
I thought it
Different
got a bit
parts of the
visually boring.
TARDIS.
but-
Unusual parts of the TARDIS. At least they weren't at all in the console room, were
No.
they? I mean, we were going down the
discovered
corridors.
all the corridors and you.
It's a chance to
that's
explore
zero
the
room.
vastness and general sameness of the rest of the TARDIS.
I was going to say there was an awful lot of rondels, those rondel things,
But
those
then we
roundels.
discovered
I
the
can't
zero
speak.
room. The zero. We discovered the zero room.
Yes,
which
but
is-
I think what you will notice about the zero room was that there
It
was
looks very
zero in
good,
it.
It smells like roses.
Yes. I've never quite understood why. It's quite peaceful, isn't it?
Peaceful. Doctor, it's like Traken. Used to be.
And it looked very much like the rest of
Which,
it.
which goes back to his point about it being a little bit visually dull.
Okay.
I felt the TARDIS had been underrepresented in the past. I wanted to know more about it. It was outrageous of me, I think, to take 2 full episodes stuck inside the TARDIS. But, you know, by God, I think it works.
I think all the TARDIS stuff that we did in that particular, the first 1.5 episodes, something like that, maybe perhaps was a bit long, but they were so difficult to shoot because we had to keep reinventing all the parts because we didn't have enough scenery just to go from one bit to another, you know, so we had to keep reforming the TARDIS.
Another intention I think John had was to make, because it was your first story, to make you a bit vulnerable.
Yes.
Well,
I was semi-conscious.
You were very vulnerable.
Exactly.
That was the tentative quality he put back into it, but there was a confidence about him by the time we got to Castrovalva.
Did you have a problem doing the voices of the other doctors? I mean,
No, I liked it. I mean, I don't know how they weren't really meant to be that accurate. It was just meant to be just hints that it was a amalgam of the previous.
And you called Janet Vicky at one point, don't you? Things like that. So there's little things. Quite nice.
Doctor, are you all right?
Fit as a fiddle, Vicky. But something very peculiar is going on in the TARDIS.
Once we'd got outside of the TARDIS and found ourselves in this beautiful location, they sure as heck made use of it. There were endless shots of us journeying. Well, not me, I was lying inside the Zero cabinet, but of Janet and Sarah taking me to Castrovalva and losing me, coming back, finding me, and then chasing me. Just endless shots that seemed to go on forever.
Yes. Yeah, it did.
Well, they did when I was watching it. Not to be mean. Now, Matthew, of course, you spent most of your time in doing what male assistants do very well, being bound and tied up.
Yes, by the master.
Yes,
indeed.
How did you feel about that?
It was actually quite scary up. That web thing was quite high up in the studio.
I'm still concerned about the master in the Zero room because I had this vision that he would be able to elevate and you could go up on the crane with him. We put him on a truck and I didn't see the truck beforehand and I didn't realise that it made the most appalling noise. So that's the reason that nobody talks.
In part, certainly. Even as an enemy, you're useful, but...
Rope around my waist and some sort of, I think, safety harness. But it was pretty scary.
Yeah,
but cool.
And this was the third. I know John wanted he wanted to bring the master back, and so he
Yes.
wanted lots of master stories. So
Yes.
this was the third story with the too much master.
No, I don't think too much master at all.
I seem to remember it was John Nathan Turner who, as one of his many diktats, which seemed to come out of thin air, decided that the master had to be in this show. I like the challenge of totally arbitrary restrictions like this floating down from on high, and you immediately as a writer want to kick against it and say, no, I never thought of that. But then you think, yeah, what could I do with that idea? And so putting the master in actually made the whole thing come together, because he was the reason for Castrovalva itself, and Castrovalva being the trap that it was.
That trilogy really works as a trilogy. The Keeper of Traken, introducing the fabulous Nissa, of course. Legopolis, introducing the equally fabulous Tegan. And the brilliant Castrovalva, introducing the doubly fabulous Peter Davison, the triply fabulous Peter Davison. It's a trilogy of fabulousness. No, I think the Master is absolutely fine for all three. You know, in the olden days, he was in it fairly frequently with John. So the idea that he sort of comes back and goes, I think, really works, and that trilogy is
You worked with him
fantastic.
mostly. I mean, first of all, what was it like working with Anthony? And did you like the way he played the master?
Oh, he was fat. I loved him.
Sorry.
He was actually considered for the part in Roger Delgado's day, so he was always on Barry Letts's radar as a possible master, and I think he's sublimely good in it.
Anthony was a marvellous master. I think he got the hang of it. I mean, there's a strong element of kind of Victorian melodrama about the way he plays it, but that's part of the part, isn't it? I mean, you can't get away from that.
Farewell forever!
To be honest with you, Roger Delgado for me was the master, because he is the master I grew up with, but he did a fine job.
I've got treasures here from the... I'm going to have to get my reading glasses out. So this is a letter from Anthony to JNT, from the Garrick Club in London.
Of course.
Of course. My dear JNT, what I want you to know is that I will be grateful to you until I'm in my wooden box for giving me the most enjoyable work I've ever done, truly. I'm looking forward to January, and I hope Castrovalva will be another triumph for you. I reckon Fiona is terrific. Now, that's, of course, Fiona Cumming, the director. Great to work with you. Yours sincerely, Anthony Ainley. Well, did you write letters like that? Any of you?
No.
No, but I think I may start.
Yes.
Yeah.
It all went wrong. That's where it went wrong for me. I didn't write enough
Not
of those
enough
letters.
obsequious letters.
I think they would have taken away my Australian passport if I'd written a crawler letter like
I
that.
had a director write a letter to me once.
Yeah, that was their
Was that
job to write
obsequious
to
as
us.
well?
Traditional. Yeah, that was far more common.
Anthony wasn't the only one writing letters. This is from David Reed, head of series and serials, drama television, Threshold House. My apologies. This is to John Nathan Turner. My apologies for not being able to watch episode 1 with you. Apart from the one shot, Adric through the master's eye, ? I'm not sure that is very clear. I reckon you have yourself a very good new Doctor Who. Well done, David Reed. So Peter had obviously done something. Does that mean anything to you?
Never mentioned anything to me, no.
Did it mean anything to you, Matthew, that through the Doctor's eye, and what he had a problem with it?
No.
Through the
Master's shot
eye?
as if it was, just looking at Adric through the,
That wasn't anything to do with the tapestry, was it?
I don't know.
No.
Well, it's not bad, only one slight error it is in one episode. So, Fiona Cumming.
I'd worked on the programme before. I'd worked with Bill Hartnell on the Massacre of St Bartholomew's Day. I'd worked with Patrick Troughton, and I'd also done a couple of John Pertwees. Suddenly to be presented with a script that I had to oversee and was away from the costume dramas that I'd worked on was a little intimidating, to say the least.
When I worked with Fiona on The Enlightenment, how did you find her?
Lovely.
Was she the only female director?
No, we had Mary.
Yeah.
Oh gosh, Mary.
Mary somebody. She also got into trouble for overrunning.
She did.
Didn't finish at all.
We had to do a remount at the
we
studio.
did, yeah. Fiona, I mean, she was fun, I guess, but she was...
Mary Ridge.
That's
Thank you.
Well
Because
done.
I worked on Angels with her.
Ah, right.
Sorry, Peter.
No, she was just, I think she shot things in a kind of old school BBC way, which is quite slow and static. I must admit, I didn't particularly notice at the time, but and the same thing I was mentioning before about these just long and endless shots that don't do anything at all. Just, people walk enormous distances to no end.
No, you're right.
It made me wonder whether the scripts was underwritten, really, because they seem to have, they could have been much, much pacier.
I won't have continuity eyes for longer. You wrote the scene.
You're back to a two-part story, I think.
Well, hopefully I could just write more stuff. But I just felt it was, in those days, it wasn't really her fault. It was just the way television was done in those days. People would say, they would stop in the middle of a great panic and go, we must really rush, otherwise so-and-so might die.
Which way? What exactly am I looking for, Doctor? Anything you don't recognise as Castrovalva. Over there, the hillside. Quick, follow Adric, hold on to each other.
And then they go. You think, well, why don't you do that running along? But I guess it's just the way. Yeah. I think it's part of the...
Money.
It's also part of the fact that television over here, it always seemed to me, came out of theatre, whereas in America, television came out of film. Those two different routes. And it changed. I mean, for us, the change was much later with Graham Harper. You weren't there, but he was the first one who said, well, we just do this on the move. It makes things snappy.
And, of course, one of the joys of Doctor Who is you get to work with great guest actors, don't you?
Yes,
so
absolutely.
In this episode?
Derek Waring.
Derek Waring, yes.
Michael Sheard.
Michael Sheard, yeah. And did you have a good time with them? I mean, Castrovalva wasn't a barrel of laughs, was it? I mean,
But then sometimes the making of it was quite fun.
Yeah. And Derek was a terrible corpse.
Yes.
Allow me to assist you.
No, keep away.
Please, I insist I do my part. You chicken.
Please, once again. Let's go recording.
There is one scene that I saw, and I can see us going, trying not to laugh.
There's usually one in every story, isn't
Yeah,
there? You normally
yeah.
seem to get one in every
Michael
story.
Sheard was one of those actors who he was in lots and lots of things, but you never quite noticed him.
Gosh, it's hot in here. Condensation in your head.
Just when you've had a flare.
I think he was famous. Was it Grange?
Grange
either
Hill? Yeah, I think
was
it was Grange Hill.
And in fact, I know he was talking to me about he was writing a book. He wrote his autobiography.
Okay.
Yeah, he
Which
did.
which is almost about someone who you never notice, who is in everything.
And the actress who played the little girl was Caroline John's niece.
1, 2.
3, sir.
What?
3, sir, is what comes after 2.
Do you know, that's exactly what I thought.
Fiona said she had a little problem with you guys because...
Really? Just a small problem?
Surely not.
The problem was that and John did this absolutely deliberately. Castrovalva wasn't the first story you filmed. I think it was the third or fourth. Can you talk?
Fourth to Doomsday.
So Fiona was saying she had to say to you don't know the Doctor. She had to keep reminding you that you haven't done any stories with the Doctor.
They have formed a sort of team, and you're trying to take them back to being 4 individuals who are trying to communicate with each other.
Why was that done?
I think actually I thought it was to help me, but I think actually it was to do with the fact it wasn't ready.
Okay.
They had to do with this rejigging of the first story.
Okay.
But it also did help me. I was very grateful that we
Really?
yeah.
I thought it'd been better to do it the other way.
Well, it's the first story that you do, and I just felt more comfortable having done it and knowing what I was doing.
So, could you come in again? I want to see if you can get you more into the light.
No.
And there was another character, wasn't there? Another actor in it. Portreve, right?
Neil.
Yes, Neil Toynay.
Yeah,
Sounds like something off
Toynay.
Dancing with the Stars,
Yeah.
doesn't it? And Neil Toynay.
Toynay,
And of course, that is an anagram of. Anthony Ainley, yes.
yes.
And John didn't want people to know the Master was in it, so he called him Neil Toynay on credits. That's very JNT. Very, very JNT.
Yes, very JNT.
For the final meeting of the Doctor with his master.
And he did that again with Anthony Ainley.
Yeah,
Several.
he did, yes. It was his regular trick.
Yeah. And the sets in the studio, they looked quite impressive, to be honest.
I think they're beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah, they are good.
Beautiful sets.
Yeah, they're lovely sets.
This way.
It was complicated for a television studio because it did have all these different levels. And it was very impressive. And it did take up a lot of space.
I turn. I say Adric into the middle.
Say Adric.
Yes,
then as before.
But do I make another move?
Turn. Yes, that's right.
I
So
got
we're
it
going
now.
for practice. Practice and cue.
What Fiona managed to do with that, to do with the outdoor shooting, which I didn't go on that. That came as a surprise for me when I saw it. What she managed to do with that, and what the set designers managed to do with Castrovalva, was a revelation. I mean, it was terrific work, that, and I was thrilled to bits.
In summary, would you agree with the head of drama that they'd got themselves a good new Doctor and it was a good story?
I think the jury's out. What do you reckon, guys?
One would like to think so, and one would like to think one received support from one's fellow
Well, that would be
actors,
a first, Peter. You never.
Yes, it would be a first, and I don't want to change a thing.
Exactly.
I wouldn't have it any other way.
On that note,
well.
on that note, we shall get back to the TARDIS.
Yes.
Peter, you can lead on. I'm not leading.
This way.
No, it is that way.
Oh, it is that way.
That way.
Off you go.
Oh, dear.
1, 2, 1, 2. That's it now. Deep breath in and out. In and out. Now, do you feel better than you did that morning?
Infinitely better.
37 years ago. What happened the previous night? We had gone back to the hotel after a full day's filming, and Matthew had got slightly carried away with the Campari.
Purchased by Janet and John Nathan Turner.
Well, yes.
Might
so
have
you say. But anyway, so
I had discovered Campari and soda. And I thought it would be only right to introduce Matthew, who had
Absolutely
recently
right.
become of legal age to drink.
Right, yes. And so Matthew got slightly carried away, and the following morning he was, how should we say, slightly green.
Sick as a dog.
And we had this scene, Janet, come here a minute.
Yep.
We had this scene, so about roughly here.
Yep.
And then we were doing this scene about where we're going. And then during one of the takes,
we hear...
No, he goes behind a tree. Walk behind that tree, Matthew.
Do what you did, Matthew.
While we're acting.
Yeah.
And eventually, we carried on for a while, and eventually I said, I think we'd better stop now, don't you?
Deep breaths. Well done, Adric.
Yeah.
This is not true. It was totally silent. This noise was there was no noise. It was absolutely silent.
It was not silent.
Absolutely silent.
We trusted. We were in front of you, and we could hear.
So, Doctor, that's been a lovely little adventure. How do we get in the TARDIS?
Right. Well, I think the
We had a ladder.
You had a ladder?
We had a ladder.
I have no idea, really.
Didn't I get a ladder?
Hang on.